We'll check out 2 more local eateries in our Rediscover Takeout series. We'll flash back to the Garth Williams exhibit at the Irving Arts Center, and we'll have a virtual tour of Beyond Bollywood at the Irving Archives and Museum. All this and more coming up About Town. Hello everyone, and welcome to About Town. I'm Kathy Whiteman. Thanks so much for tuning in today for the details on a community-wide event coming up soon called Chalk the Block. And we'll have Susan Stevens' review of The High Note, starring Tracy Ellis Ross and Dakota Johnson. As always, we'd love to have your feedback. Let us know about stories you've learned about and would like to see on the show. You can email us at ictn@cityofirving.org or connect with us on social media. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Fans of the Irving Public Library, and I'm one of them, can rejoice. Starting June 1st, South Irving, West Irving, and Valley Ranch Library began stage 1 of their reopening. This next feature has the details you'll want to know.
Beginning on June 1st, people will be able to make an appointment to be able to come in and use a computer or to be able to browse the collection and pick out their own stuff. Our hours are a little bit limited from normal. We will be open from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and from 10 to 6 on Friday and Saturday. We will be closed on Sunday at this time. Masks are required. We're asking everybody to social distance, to keep 6 feet away from everybody else, except perhaps the family members that they came into the library with. We are leaving some time in between appointments so that we can make sure we've cleaned up everything that people have touched, the self-check machines, the computers, printers, that kind of thing before new people come in. People can browse the collection, pick out their own materials, check them out using the self-check machines. We do our fax printer scanners at all of our locations are available, so people can come in and use those as well. That's a really popular service. We're going to have a limited number of computers available. We are working out some ways to be able to do screen sharing with our customers to be able to help them online from a distance. So we hope everybody will be patient with us as we work that out, because this is certainly something that's new to us. So we are doing appointments to make sure that everybody has a fair chance to use a computer who needs to use a computer. Drive-through service and curbside service will still be available during those regular hours of operation. If you do want to take your chances, you can just walk up at certain times. There'll be posters on the outside of the library doors that will show what the appointment times are and when walk-ins are available. There'll be somebody at the door there to be able to help people when they come in, kind of orient them to what's going on, what the rules are, what services are available, that kind of thing.
For more details or to make a reservation, visit cityofirving.org/library. We visit 2 great Irving eateries, Glory House and Razoo's, in this edition of Rediscover Takeout.
Continue dining at home with more of your favorite Irving restaurants. Glory House recently had their grand reopening this past November. Currently, they are serving drop-off catering to feed the whole family or for any special gathering. And if you're wanting a quick bite, Glory House is also offering pickup and curbside orders Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Visit gloryhousecatering.com, Grubhub, or call 972-259-1123 to order. Razoo's in Irving serves Gulf Coast Cajun-inspired dishes, which includes their popular Cajun combo skillet, fried shrimp, and gumbo. You can also get your beverage to go with a number of their wine and beer options. Razoo's is now allowing limited seating in their dining area within the governor's guidelines. Whether you want to eat out or take out, Razoo's has a variety of seafood, salads, pastas, and more. Visit razoo's.com/Irving or call 971-373-9400 for pickup and delivery orders. For About Town, this is Susan Stevens.
Drop by or get your favorite good eats delivered by visiting online at gloryhousecatering.com or razzoos.com/Irving. A new community-wide event will have you grabbing your sidewalk chalk and getting creative. It's called Chalk the Block, and it's a way for our community to come together and brighten the city up one block at a time. Journey Harris joins me via Zoom to talk about her role in what promises to be a really fun and great event. Hi, Journey. Thank you so much for tuning in and signing in today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it is absolutely my pleasure. I had the opportunity to see the self-portrait that you did in a similar event at the Irving Convention Center, and it completely blew me away. It's beautiful work. How did you get involved in that project?
The coordinator talked to my teacher about it. My teacher talked to me about it, and so I thought it'd be really fun to do something else with chalk because I really enjoyed practicing with that medium. It's a nice challenge.
Well, I have to say you really rose to the challenge because the work is beautiful. I'm hoping we're going to be able to show a picture of that so that folks will know why I'm bragging on you so much. So you mentioned your teachers. You want to give them a shout out because it sounds like you've been a great student and they've been great teachers.
Yes, ma'am. John Bushfar and Marcy Lee of MacArthur High. They're good art teachers. I really enjoyed having their classes.
Well, that's really neat. So from my understanding, the person who's spearheading this event through the city of Irving, our communications manager, Mary Beth Sloan, saw your work and she got excited about seeing what you were doing. So tell me a little bit about that. How'd you get involved in this Chalk the Block project?
They contacted through my mom, and I was my mom brought it to the idea by me, and I thought it'd be really fun to get into doing more chalk and getting more involved during this time, since I guess connectivity is really important, even though we have to all be distant.
Yeah, I have to say I agree with you because I read a quote the other day that said that when times get really crazy like they've been, you want people to remember that folks turn to music and art and movies to help them remember that life can still be really good. And so I think you've probably been a part of that. So give me a little bit of background on you as an artist. I mean, obviously you're very, very talented. How long have you been making art?
I've been making art for, I feel mostly since middle school, but I guess high school career really kicked off. And I went more into exploring what I can do and how I can express different emotions, and all through that through my work.
Wow, that is really exciting. I'm going to be really happy to see more of your work because you're a junior this year, so that means senior year's next, and maybe we'll have an opportunity to see your work in a senior portfolio next year.
Yes, ma'am.
So to kind of close things out, this event is planned for June 20th and 21st, and basically folks are asked to get some sidewalk chalk and go outside and just make something beautiful. It doesn't have to be outstanding like yours is, but just something that makes you smile. So I know you're going to get involved again. What do you think you might want to create for Chalk the Block?
I saw their logo that was sent to me, and I was thinking about maybe giving it some more a realistic or a more interesting touch that just stands out even more. I haven't yet fully come up with an idea yet, but I'm working on it. I might bring out the Irving's Mustang some more.
Oh, that would be really nice to capture. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you at the event or that weekend, and get an opportunity to see what your artistic talent brings out. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Folks, if you want to get involved with Chalk the Block, it's a real simple thing. Get some sidewalk chalk, go outside, do something fun, and let everybody know about it on social media. Thanks so much, Journey.
Thank you.
This week, Susan Stevens reviews The High Note, starring Tracy Ellis Ross and Dakota Johnson as a superstar singer and her personal assistant who both aspire to more. And for sci-fi fans, check out her review of The Vast of Night, already a critic's favorite on the film festival circuit. Here's a look.
Detroit. I can't hear you, Maggie. Detroit. I can't hear you, Detroit!
I grew up around music. It's my whole world. If you told 12-year-old me that one day I'd be working for Grace Davis, she's an icon.
This woman doesn't even know your last name.
She does, sometimes.
Maggie is an assistant to a music icon and her personal hero, Grace Davis. And it's almost a dream come true.
The girls still give me goosebumps.
Tracee Ellis Ross and Dakota Johnson star in the new comedy drama, The High Note. The film puts a musical spin on the storyline we've seen in Devil Wears Prada and Late Night, where a respected boss in a desired field treats her assistant poorly while secretly caring for them.
Grace, have you thought any more?
In this film, Maggie, played by Johnson, aspires to be a music producer. When Grace mentions her interest in finally making a new album, Maggie sees an opportunity, while Grace's manager and the rest of her team believes she should stick to replaying her old hits.
Let me do my job and you do yours, which is get her coffee, Kleenex, Kotex, and whatever else the hell we've been paying you to do for the last 6 months.
I've been here for 3 years.
You get paid? I thought you were an intern.
My life is a joke!
Luckily, Maggie stumbles upon David, a talented singer she meets at the grocery store. She decides to help David with his music while still assisting Grace full-time, all in an effort to prove that she can successfully produce a music artist. Needless to say, things don't always go as planned. The predictability of The High Note is surprisingly not an issue. The relationship between Maggie and Grace is a lot of fun. I just wish we saw more of it. Ross steals the show every time she's on screen. Johnson and her play off each other very well, giving us sweet, tender moments of two women who just want to prove that their talents are worth more than what others have limited them to. Unfortunately, the time spent trying to force a romance between Maggie and David, played by Kelvin Harris Jr., distracts the audience from the real heart of this movie. Harris Jr. does a fantastic job, along with the rest of the cast, including Ice Cube and Bill Pullman. But all you're really craving is the banter and chemistry between Ross and Johnson. The High Note may not be a #1 hit, but it's an enjoyable track. It's one of the first films I've watched during this quarantine that has made me feel like I'm at the movies again. It's a light-hearted musical escape that's worth watching.
Are not a drive-through.
Well, it should be, it could be.
Oh my God, is that Grace Davis?
No.
Now let's talk about Amazon Prime's new independent movie, The Vast of Night. The production value may not be high, but the acting and story is first-rate. The film is set in New Mexico during the 1950s. As basketball season begins, a small town is preoccupied in a high school gym while two teens, Faye and Everett, are working at the local radio station. But when they discover a strange audio frequency, their typical night turns into a wild goose chase of tracking down the source of this mysterious static.
The news for the hour. Now, what would you like to tell us about yourself?
I don't know.
Cool, aren't you like some big science girl? Tell me about science.
Everett, it's Faye. The sound came through the board and interrupted your radio show.
What does it sound like?
What's going on, Everett?
718 here at WOTW. We got a sound we'd like to play that seems to be bouncing around the valley tonight.
Yes, I have a story that might be helpful.
Andrew Patterson's directorial debut is a simple plot that holds a lot of layers. We're taken on a tense and eerie mission that is only elevated by Jake Horowitz's and Sierra McCormick's charismatic and strong performances. This movie is a wonderful ode to the Twilight Zone and raises our own curiosities about extraterrestrial life. The Vast of Night feels nostalgic, providing a fresh lens to a story we've seen before. Now, it does move a little slow, and it can be heavy on the dialogue in certain scenes, but if you turn off the lights, sit back and immerse yourself in this mystery fantasy, you'll be anxious to know what these kids find. And thankfully, you can look forward to a satisfying conclusion. For About Town, this is Susan Stevens.
Something's up there now. It's something talking. And they don't stay for long.
Hey!
Everett, take the wheel! What's going on?
There's something in the sky.
The High Note and The Vast of Night are both available on video-on-demand platforms. Garth Williams was one of America's best-loved illustrators of children's books, with classics like Stuart Little and Charlotte's Web among his works. An exhibit was on display at the Irving Art Center during 2019. In case you missed it, here's our flashback with art historian and critic Leonard Marcus.
Garth Williams illustrated many of the classic children's books of the last 75 years, books that almost everyone in America and in other countries too grew up with. For instance, Charlotte's Web and Stuart Little, both by E.B. White, and all of the Laura Ingalls Wilder books, and The Cricket in Times Square, and on and on and on. Both of his parents were artists, and he used to sneak into his father's studio when he was 5 or 6 years old and do little extra drawings on his father's magazine cartoons. So it was in his blood, and he associated it with his own childhood. And then he became a father several times over, so he was always around children. And beyond that, I think the people who do great work for children, either as writers or illustrators, are the ones who have deep memories of growing up and want to share, the joy that they experienced in those days. Most of the books that he illustrated were written by other people, but there was one picture book called The Rabbit's Wedding, and it was published just as the civil rights movement was becoming a big thing in this country, and it was the story of a white rabbit and a black rabbit who meet, become friends, and at the end of the story they marry, The Rabbit's Wedding. Well, in Alabama, that was taken as a allegory for marriage between the races. And in segregationist Alabama, that was, controversial. So the book was banned, and the state librarian was forced to resign as a result of it. It became very ugly. And then, of course, all around the world in the press, it became an example of how America was, it hadn't come to terms with its race issue. So it stands out as one of the biggest examples of censorship in American history. I gave the show a kind of ambitious title. I called it Illustrator of the Century. It's a big statement. I just think he had it all. I mean, he was an amazing portrait artist. He was really a master at the magic of drawing animals who have human qualities so that they exist in a sort of between world that can only be found in the pages of a book. And that's one of the things that I think really excites children when they're just encountering storytelling and narrative, that this could be possible even. And his people and his other characters are real on an emotional level. And that's, I think, really the key to the best children's books. Children see something or somebody in a book that they can connect with, and that allows them to grow as people.
And if you missed the wonderful exhibit Beyond Bollywood at the Irving Archives and Museum, here's a virtual tour with Museum Director Jennifer Landry. The Irving Archives and Museum's second traveling exhibition was Beyond Bollywood, Indian Americans Shape the Nation. But COVID-19 cut short the public's opportunity to see this excellent exhibit.
We opened Beyond Bollywood on February 15th, and we closed on March 13th. So yeah, it was only up for about a month.
The Archives and Museum hosted the exhibit through its affiliation with the Smithsonian. It was organized and curated by SITES, the Smithsonian Institution Traveling Exhibition Service.
It looks at the contributions of Indian Americans to American society and sort of the deep history of Indian Americans in this country and their immigration experiences and just their overall role that they play in our larger culture.
The panel-based exhibit provided an enormous amount of information on many aspects of Indian culture.
As you would have entered the exhibit, you would have first encountered a traveling trunk, which is actually my favorite part of the exhibit, because it thinks about, the fact that, what would you bring with you? if you were traveling 10,000 miles from home, likely never to return again. And it had some artifacts in it of kind of the key things that maybe an Indian family or individual would have brought with them, such as a spice box, which I learned was really essential to Indian culture. Cooking is such a key part of our traditions for all of us, but for Indians in particular. And then the exhibit would walk you through the history and background of Indians coming to America, starting in the 1790s, and largely up in the 20th century was the first mass immigrations of the 1910s and 20s. And then the role of Indian Americans in American society. So the struggle for civil rights, the right to vote, not something that was given automatically to Indian immigrants that came to this country, as with many other cultures. And their role in the 1960s, the civil rights movement, and looking for equality and justice for all people. And then their contributions today. So we think about the roles that you often find Indian immigrants in, such as engineering and medicine, and the fact that the H-1 visa process really emphasized bringing those particular professions to America. And that's partly what has led to a larger Indian American cultural group in this country today. And then also the cultural elements. So we think about yoga, we think about Indian cuisine, one of my favorite parts, and just the different elements of Indian culture that have become integrated and part of our larger melting pot of American culture, and how we define that.
One of the goals of the Irving Archives and Museum is to mirror the diversity of the Irving community today.
We wanted to be sure to bring in exhibits that reflected the multiculturalism that is in existence today. We felt that was really important, that people would be able to come into the museum and see themselves. That history and our background is so important, and it's important for all of us to learn and to know and to understand, but we also want to make sure that the more recent history is reflected. And so Beyond Bollywood was a perfect fit. Irving has a large Indian American population. They're socially and culturally active, and we wanted to make sure that there was a reflection of them there. And so we were really thrilled that that was one of our first temporary exhibits that we were able to host in that gallery. It's a shame we had to close it so early, but we're working on ways that we can continue the programs and projects that we started as part of that. As I told our community partners, just because there isn't a temporary exhibit specifically on Indian American culture doesn't mean we can't do programs and other events around that, so that we make sure that that community and all communities are reflected in the Irving Archives and Museum.
Beyond Bollywood set the bar high and provided a comprehensive, nuanced, and thoughtful picture of the contributions of Indian Americans. This is Kathy Whiteman reporting. Here's another look at the work of Irving ISD's talented elementary artists and a list of things to bring out your inner child virtually about town. And that wraps up this edition of About Town. Thanks for joining us. Please be sure to tune in next time for a look at programming for adults from the Irving Public Library online. A flashback to the amazing performance by the Kingdom Choir at the Irving Art Center and our virtual tour of the Northlake College Student Photography exhibit. Please keep practicing social distancing and other important safety measures as we continue to support each other through this health challenge. We'll leave you tonight with a look back at Bitty Bitty Banda in performance as part of the Irving Concert Series. I'm Kathy Whiteman. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next time.